Welcome back to Trinity Place. This is the fourth Sunday of Pentecost. Welcome back. My name is Cameron Miller, and this is a sermon for the fourth Sunday of Pentecost season. The lectionary readings for this week include Jeremiah 20, 7 through 13, a poem entitled Dust by Dorian Lau, and Matthew 10, 24 through 39. I'll begin with Dust. I'll begin with the conclusion of Dust. God comes to your window, all bright light and black wings, and you're too tired to open it. That poem, Dust, captures perfectly a number of dreams and aha moments that I've had just before turning around and going on about my business as usual. We are dust, and to dust we shall return. It's not always clear to me why an excerpt from the Hebrew text is paired with a particular gospel story in the lectionary, but this week it's loud and clear. Jeremiah's lament, a long and grievous whine, is exactly what those 12 disciples would be doing after Jesus' severe and jealous rant. What now? They might start out kind of feigning a little cognitive difficulty. You want us to do what? You've come to do what? Love who more than who? Lose what? My life for what? Then they would have gone home and let loose a lament as big as a cloud and as loud as a wave. They'd be quoting Jeremiah jot and tittle. There are some 60 lament psalms in the Bible. I read that somewhere, never actually counted them. And there are myriad prophets like Jeremiah and Jesus who lament with the best of them. Lamenting is a thing in the Bible, and it ought to be a thing among us too, if it isn't already. To lament like Jeremiah in that reading from today, we have to be all in whatever arena that we're dancing. We have to care like there's no tomorrow and be as passionate about what we're lamenting as we are about our own lives. It's not a little complaint or a heady academic critique. It's a guttural wail of an objection and a deep down to your toes protest. A lament points to the wrongness of the uneven playing field that God has created, and the pain and the suffering lapping our lives from both sides in this hazardous existence that we walk. We didn't get to choose how or where or to whom we were born. We didn't get to choose the quality of our body or mind. We didn't get to choose when and where the sky is falling. In fact, we didn't get to choose an alternative to a finite existence that ends whether or not we want it to. And within all of that existential consternation, the lament can turn and hammer specific things, specific wrongs that God seems to have created or allowed to have happen. Now, these ancient lamenters, they're not punks. They're not philosophers waxing and waning about ideas about God. They're shaking their fists at God, the creator of all that is. And here's the thing. They don't disbelieve in God just because God doesn't soothe their sore shoulders with lotion or fix their emotional or physical or spiritual or moral crises. They don't disbelieve, they lament. What in God's name is wrong with you, God? What kind of bleeping, bleepity, bleep, bleep, bleep you got going on here, God? They don't question God's existence. They question God's judgment, God's actions and decisions. They question their own sanity for getting involved with God in the first place. What am I doing here? What am I doing working on this crazy, no good, ridiculous stuff for this God who isn't helping me and certainly not turning things around? In fact, I'm worse off now than before I got involved. I need my head examined. You know, there was a time in yesteryear when I was so angry with God, I thought I was an atheist. Not even an agnostic, but an atheist. I didn't even know how angry I was or that I was angry at God. Looking back on it, it seems kind of silly and petulant, embarrassing really, that I was so angry given the level of privilege I had as a white heterosexual male born into a middle-class American household where I was loved, even if not the way I wanted to be loved. But that's the thing about a lament. It's deeply human. No one else gets to judge or even know the depth of our personal pain or sorrow or grief. It isn't measurable. Those kind of things aren't quantifiable. They're not comparable or justifiable or unjustifiable. We fall into this experience of being human and being human with people that we are given to be human with. And we each have raw wounds from some of that experience. Wounds inflicted upon us and wounds that are self-inflicted. But it doesn't matter which, because they're all still painful wounds. And so we have a lament inside. A lament aimed at God for some particular pain that we have that is ours and ours alone. Our pain, our struggle, our particular challenge, our personal grief or sorrow or anger. I don't care who you are or how mature you are or how self-differentiated you may be. You have a lament inside too. And even if your rational mind won't allow you to go there, it is aimed at God. It's gilded with blame and aimed like a howitzer at the one who created all of this and who knows you and your pain just like the one knows how many feathers are left on a sparrow at your feeder. Now, that's a lot of metaphor. And I do not know how much God knows about any of this territory we walk as human beings. But I do know that a lament holds God accountable. As part of our spiritual practice, laments are really valuable. Being in touch with the laments we have inside, we don't have to create them or find them. We have them. But to be in touch with the laments we have inside will enliven our relationship with God. And getting in touch with our laments we have ignored or have denied will enliven our relationship as well. It's also important to note that many, if not most, of the biblical laments somehow turn on a dime and end up in gratitude. They begin by fist shaking and blaming and blame escaping, and then they end with thank you. I appreciate the gifts you've given me. Laments are honest that way. We hold both at one and the same time. Blame and anger with awe and gratitude. Blame and anger raise the temperature of our investment, while awe and gratitude cool it to warmth. So that is lament, a real category of spirituality we almost never talk about for some reason. I highly encourage shaking your fist at God when the stakes are high and our ignorance is blinding, and then eventually embracing our cosmic ignorance with a grinning, well, thank you. Now, as for Jesus' blistering rant in the Gospel of Matthew, I haven't got a clue. Honestly, I could take it apart and contextualize it and add a little sweetener to make it go down better. But why do that? I think it's great just as it is. Tough talk about how hard it is to create the kingdom of God on earth as it is in heaven. So I commend Matthew's Jesus speech to you just as it is, for a little personal contemplation. And if you do that, it may just get you in touch with a lament or two. I'll leave the tough talk from Jesus with this. Also from the poem Dust. Someone spoke to us last night, told us the truth, just a few words, but we recognized it. Whether we open the window or not is up to us. A moment-by-moment decision, I'm sure. Thank you for being here. I wish you peace. All right, Lisa.